welcome to my channel. I'm Steve Down. This is my guitar. If you're just joining us, this is the third episode in a series looking at my favourite things by, well, it's Kenny Burrell's version, but it was originally by Rodgers and Hammerstein. Last week we took a look at the first side of the A section, and then the week before we took a look at a chord melody of the C section that he plays right at the top of the tune. This week we're going to delve into the second half of the A section. Before we do that, I just want to say a big thanks to my patrons. There's been loads of you this week. So, big thanks to Matt, James, Bruce, Carl, Holly, John, and Adam, and also Patrick, who refreshed his tier and went to the VIP tier. If you want to support me, then Patreon is the place to go to do that. There you're going to get the transcription of the solo and also all of the chord scale arpeggio packs, anything that I put on the screen. And you'll also get a backing track as well that I created with Joe Harris, Jamie Sefton, and Josh Moon, the 3Js. And then if you just want to do a one-off support, then you can buy me a coffee. There's a link below. And also just hit that subscribe button and the like button and drop me a comment if you feel that there was anything that I missed out. Someone pointed out last week that I had a typo with chord. I put an A diminished with a C in the bass rather than a B7 flat 9, which is actually what it was. It looks like a C diminished, but if you actually analyze it, you've got a C in the bass, an A there, a D sharp and an F sharp. And so you've got your B7 chord there, and then you've also got the flat 9 in the bass. And because it's going to an E minor afterwards, it figures that we'd see it as a B7 flat 9. So yeah, thanks to the fella who pulled me up on that one. So let's jump straight in and take a look at the first 8 bars. So in those first 8 bars, he's basically taken the melody that we learnt last week up an octave. So instead of the there, he's going. Okay, and it's really important that if you're going to learn a melody that you try and learn it in a few different positions, because like Kenny, he's got to play that A section twice, and to create some interest, he's just taken it up an octave. This is probably something that would have been planned before, but it's well worth learning any melody line that you're learning up an octave or in a few different places on the guitar, because every place has its different flavor. In order for you to be able to do that, obviously you've got to be able to know the melody notes that are up an octave. Last week we looked at the E natural minor, which is what the melody's taken from, in the octave that he actually played it. So here is the E natural minor in the octave that he's playing this week. So if you come across a jazz standard and you know what key it's in, let's say it's in the key of G major, and your melody line's down there, make sure that you learn the G major that is going to be up the octave as well. And while you're at it, why not here and here? Okay, it's worth learning it in as many different places as you can. Then you've got a real rich palette to be able to choose from. Okay, let's take a look at the next 8 bars. So here, Kenny has decided to include some chord grabs, that's what we call them, to punctuate the melody. So with the A minor, this is the 2-5-1 going into G. So we've got, okay, kind of cool, really funky staccato way of doing it, and some very simple voicings. A minor, D9, and then G major 7. He's chosen these voicings because you're not having to move as many notes around to get from A minor 7 to D9, and then from D9 to G major 7. So the voice leading is really nice. And also it favors the melody to go to that D9 as well. Okay, it just makes sense. And then, okay, and then he heads back to the melody. Okay, let's just quickly pause there and just look at how we go about, as well as knowing, you know, some chords, how do we go about choosing the right voicing for the melody? So let's look back at our old friend Someday My Prince Will Come, which we looked at last week. Here's the melody that we played last week in 4/4. So if you remember, we changed it from 3/4 to 4/4 by making it slightly more funky. We pushed some of the quick notes towards the end and made it quite syncopated. So check back in episode 2 if you want to look at how I went about doing that. But this week, I'm going to add in some chord grabs. I'm going to go fairly zealous with this and kind of harmonize everything, but you don't have to do that. You could just do a few grabs from here and play the rest of the melody with single notes like Kenny does in these 4 bars. So the first thing I've done is I found a voicing that's got this G in the top. You'll notice that when I played it down earlier, I played it down there. Now, to be able to find a voicing of C major 7 down here is going to be fairly tricky, and it's just going to sound really, really kind of, mushy. So let's not play it there. Let's take it up the octave. Let's decide to take the whole thing up the octave, then it all sounds better, and we can keep the melody on top of the chord. So I've chosen to use this voicing because I can keep the G in the top, and then an E augmented voicing, and then an E augmented voicing. Okay, keeping that C in the top, and then also a C in the bottom. This is a nice voicing because it's a voicing that you can repeat if you go up a major third. So, and play the same shape again, and it will do it again, or you can play it down here. It's a bit tricky to play it up there. But you basically take the voicing and you can move it up. It's a symmetrical voicing, just like a diminished voicing. It's the same notes, they're just reordered, that's all. So I've chosen to use that voicing. So, and then to get to the G sharp, all I've done is taken the C off the top, and I'm only plucking down to the second string. And then after that, I'm using a voicing of the F major 7 with the B note in the top, which is giving a kind of Lydian, a sharp 11 kind of sound. Okay. Remember, B flat is F's 4th there, and we're using a B natural, so that kind of makes it Lydian. And I've chosen to use this voicing here because the voice leading is nice. I haven't had to move very much. That C goes down and the G sharp goes up, and the other 2 notes just stay the same. So it makes sense to go to that voicing there. Okay, and then we go to an A augmented voicing there, A7 sharp 5. And again, it looks like I'm doing a massive movement, but I'm not doing that big a movement because basically this note here, the E, is moving up, and this note, the C, is moving up as well, but only a semitone. This note, yeah, okay, that's, we're getting rid of that note completely and we're adding in this one. That's, fairly radical, but, the other 3 notes, kind of voice leading up. So it's a really good choice of a voicing there. Okay, and then another going to D minor 7 to keep that note in the top, and then coming back to that voicing again for the E augmented at the top. This voicing of the augmented, this shape here, I've chosen to use this because when I go down to the C sharp, I can just move this whole voicing down. Okay, and then go to a D9, keeping the melody note at the top, and then I keep in that little melismatic line that I played last time, and then playing a G9 there. Now I know it's a G7, but it sounds better if I play this voicing here, because I want to play that note, the D in the top. It just sounds nicer than playing a G7 there, because the voice leading again is much better. Okay, I just wanted to pop this in edit here. I've lost my glasses because I'm editing this the day after, and I went to a gig last night and left my glasses there. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that I put in a D minor 9, whereas the original Someday My Prince Will Come has a D9 at the end going to a G9. So it should be that, okay, going to the G9, a D9, okay, D7 with the 9 in the top, going into to G9. But I chose to doing a D minor 9 there. Okay, and the only reason I did that was because I quite like the voice leading. It would be perfectly fine if you used a D9. It's just, to my ears, I quite liked the sound of the D minor 9 there, okay? It's not that one is necessarily better than the others, it's just a matter of taste. So you can choose whichever one you want to do. Essentially, the difference is you just put your second finger in front of the bar, a fret above, and you get your F sharp, which converts the D minor 9 into a D9, a dominant 9. Okay, so in these 8 bars, he modulates into the major key, the E major. He's doing E major 7 to A major 7, and then 3 times, and then to an A over B there, or a B11 you might call it. That's always a really nice chord in substitute of a dominant, to go back to the 1, whether that be minor or major. This kind of section is not necessarily wildly unique because it's gone to the major. It does still do that in the original, but it does take a bit of a different turn in the original. Kenny's kind of truncated it and kind of made an 8-bar section for improvising over it. And the lines that he plays here, all of this is all derived from 2 positions of the E major scale. And here. Okay, so 2 positions there, and he's switching between the 2 of them. The interesting thing that he's doing is that he's trying his best to try and land on chord tones for the A chord when it comes underneath. So the first line, okay, he lands on the E and the G sharp, which come with when the A major 7 chord's played. So, okay, so that works, and then, okay, again that note there, that he's got a C sharp which works, but the B is not in the A major 7 chord, but it sounds nice over the top of it. Okay, over the top. It's not like it's a wildly out there chord. Okay, and then, okay, these notes here. That's all notes that work well over A major, and he's targeting that C sharp there and everything. And then at the end, just running up an E major scale in this position from the major 3rd, and then ending on the dominant note, so the B, which works well over the end there. So what he's doing here isn't radical, but it's a really well thought out section. He's got question and answer phrases. We talked about that last week. The first phrase, and then a phrase that's similar. Okay, and then something different after this, and that's similar to that line that we heard at the top there. Same kind of rhythm, same kind of spacing of the notes. So we've got a lot of continuity and repetition going on. And then another answering phrase, and then just something to round it off at the end. Okay, so you can see that it's really important when you're doing these kind of short improvised sections that you try and use question and answer as much as possible. Short sound bites with space in between, because that gives your listener a chance to be able to digest what you're doing and kind of grasp on to what you're playing. And he's not playing anything that's really wildly out there. He's sticking to the E major scale as his parental scale, and then his vocabulary is taking into account some of the chord tones from the chord of A, so that he can kind of show that he's understanding it and give a bit more of a richness to the melody. Okay, let's move on to the final 18 bars. So I've just chosen to group this all together because this is that C section that we saw from the beginning that he used for his chord melody. And here he's using some more chords. Okay, again, just like I said earlier, it's really important to make sure that you've got a choice of chord voicings for each chord, because there he's choosing to take the chord voicing down here so that he can play a chord underneath the melody and keep it on similar strings. Okay, so the texture kind of remains the same. And then, okay, again, some nice voicing. He's choosing voicings. Okay, for that melody line, he's choosing voicings that suit it so that he can, again, create voice leading, not moving too far. He's not like he's going like that down there where he's kind of completely changing. He's choosing voice leading there over anything else. And then, okay, for that melody there at the end there, he's underneath we've got a 2-5-1 into C major, so a D minor 7 going to a G7 going to a C major 7. He turns it into a D minor 11 by including the melody note at the top. So and this is a really good rootless voicing for a D minor 11. And then another rootless voicing for G13. Again, just voice leading. It's all to do with voice leading. Bringing in that G there for melody, and then going to C major 7 at the end. So again, voice leading is a big thing in this particular section. And then the ending's fairly simple. All on one string. And then carrying that line on into the solo, which we'll look at next week. Etc, etc. Just something to talk about here is just the fact that, yeah, he plays it on one string, but he plays it with quite a lot of sass. Slide. Really tiny little grace note slide. Bit of vibrato. Okay, so he's got slides, grace note slides, and also some vibrato in there to make this line far more interesting. So, again, add those kind of things into your playing, into the melody. Like, don't just play... try sliding into it. Okay, a little melismatic slide there. It's a really good thing to do if you're trying to just breathe some life into, what would otherwise be a stale melody. Okay, I just wanted to pop in another edit here just to explain where this B7 sharp 5 flat 9s come from. If you remember in the last episode we talked about the harmony, and we talked about the fact that the B7, which was in there, came from the E harmonic minor. It's borrowed from that scale. It's at the chord that is harmonized on the 5th note of the E harmonic minor scale. And so we take the D sharp, which is the addition, into the harmonic minor scale, and then the F sharp as well. So we've got, that was the harmonic minor scale, and then we harmonize off of the 5th note, adding in thirds, and you've got your flat 7 there for the B7, and so you get B7. Okay. Now in this one we've got a sharp 5 flat 9. It's basically just taking other notes from the harmonic minor scale, from the upper octave. So this is the E harmonic minor scale with the chord at the end. And so this just kind of clears up where we've got those notes from. So we've taken the 3rd note of the E harmonic minor scale and put that in the chord, and obviously that makes a sharp 5 or a flat 13 in relation to the B7 chord. And we've also taken the C, which is your flat 6, okay, or the 6th note of the harmonic minor scale, the E harmonic minor scale, and in relation to B, that's a flat 9. So we've got these what are termed as altered notes, and they just help us to create more tension in order to be able to resolve it back to E minor again. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you've got something out of it. Make sure that you head to Patreon. The link is here if you want to grab the transcription and any of the examples that I've included here. And also the backing track is available there that I created myself for this with live musicians on, so it will be slightly more of a vibe to play over than playing over a MIDI one. So head over to Patreon if you want to grab that. Next week we're going to be taking a look at the first part of his solo. It's a fairly lengthy solo and he sticks all on one chord for this, so it's going to be really interesting, a really good study in how to go about playing over a static chord, a little bit like what we did with Hottentot and John Scofield back a few series ago. So happy practicing, have a great week. Try and stay out of the sun if you're in the UK because it is sweltering hot, as you can see by my red face. So yeah, take care of yourself and I'll see you next week. Bye.